Now that you've been introduced to how we can use Adobe Camera to make perspective corrections on our photographs, I hope that you're curious to learn more. Because here in this movie, we're going to dig deeper into how we can use these controls in order to make some perspective corrections. We'll be using this photograph, which we've seen previously, and this will be helpful because it will help us to compare and contrast how we can work with lens corrections versus Adobe Camera. All right, well, let's go ahead and convert this background layer to a Smart Object layer. You can do that by right-clicking or control-clicking, and then select Convert to Smart Object. Next, navigate to the Filter pull-down menu and choose Camera as a filter. This will launch the image in Adobe Camera, and let's go straight over to the Lens Corrections tab. Click on this icon here, and then let's start to work with our upright controls. In the last movie, I highlighted how we could use automatic. And what that would do is automatically apply a balanced perspective on our image. Yet we also have three other icons here, and you may be wondering, well, what do these do? Well, the icon with the straight line in it, this one allows us to level our photograph. Here you can see the correction is subtle, but it just allowed me to level this image. Rather than having to manually rotate it, this took care of any leveling that I needed to do. The next one allows me to make sure that my vertical perspective is correct. This will take care of the lean that we have here in the columns. So here I'll go ahead and click on that option. The last one applies all of these. It will level the image. It will correct any horizontal or vertical perspective issues. So here we'll click on this option. Now, if we compare the one which applies all of these together versus automatic, what we'll see is that there's a slight difference. And here we can see the difference between the two. Sometimes as you're working, you'll discover that this option will work better for certain images, where automatic will work better for others. So either way, we now know how all of these upright controls work. Well, after having dialed in some great perspective corrections using upright, what I want to do is I want to make a few more adjustments. I notice that there's a little bit of distortion, so I'm going to go ahead and click and drag my distortion slider to the right. In doing that, you'll notice that I've removed some of the distortion, but also a new button or new link was highlighted, Reanalyze. And that was highlighted because I made a change. Well, now in order to take advantage of these upright controls, we want to click on Reanalyze and take a look at this area of the image and other areas, and you'll notice how it will then correct those issues, leveling the photograph out and recalibrating that perspective correction. So as you make transform adjustments, make sure to look for that link. If ever it turns on and is highlighted blue, you want to click on that in order to achieve the best results. Next, what I want to do is I want to apply a little bit of a perspective correction. So here, we can go ahead and click and drag to the right to stretch this out so that the image is taller, or click and drag to the left to stretch this out horizontally to make the image a little bit wider. I want to do that so that this image has a little bit more of this wide open feel to it. Well, in doing that, you can see that we have a little bit of negative space or transparency here in the bottom. You can take care of that using the scale slider. Here I can scale the image smaller or bigger. We can also see how it sort of warped or changed the image in order to fix a perspective. Sometimes it's fun to see the difference there and how you can see how it's really changed that up. Well, anyway, with the scale slider, I'll go ahead and scale this up so that all of the transparency is now gone. Now I'm just looking at pixels and we fix that up. Next, I'll scroll down to my vignetting controls. Here we can darken or brighten the edges or corners of the image. We can also control the midpoint. This is how close to the center of the image this will be affecting the photograph. In this case, I'll drag it to the left so that I have a larger area which is brightened. And here you can see the before and then now the after. And by working on this image, which we also used with the lens correction filter, you can kind of see that Camera provides you so many more controls. And the great thing about using Camera is that you can not only use the lens correction controls, but we can also use all of the other controls here, which allow us to sharpen our image or work on contrast or color or do whatever we need to do. So when it comes to making perspective corrections, my tool of choice is lens corrections in Adobe Camera. Yet either way, what you'll want to do is experiment with the lens correction filter and also the lens correction controls in Camera, and then decide which one works best for you. All right, well, after having corrected this image, in order to apply these settings, we'll go ahead and click OK. That will then apply these settings to this photograph as a smart filter. And here we can click on the eye icon to see the overall before and then now the after.